Nosotros somos la máquina tanguera.
Later I found out that my grandmother sang tangos every night to me when I was a baby.
La máquina tanguera.
It was enormously engaging, the kind of relationship of tango to knife fighting, the culture of the gaucho.
Son como vida de gitano, ¿no? Yendo de un lugar a otro, adaptándonos a las casas y a las costumbres de las personas.
Tanguera.
Por curiosidad, por mujeres.
La máquina
Mujeres
tanguera.
también.
Hablemos de Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires, la lejana, el dorado de mis años infantiles, la segunda New York por su empuje y por la heterogeneidad social de sus pobladores. No nos une el amor, sino el espanto. Será por eso que te quiero tanto.
Hi, my name is Diana Lopez. I'm a tango singer. I've been singing for only about a year and a half. I came into contact with tango in a very American venue. I saw a movie. I heard a Spanish singer singing Volver. And then I looked it up on YouTube and found Carlos Gardel. And when I heard him singing, it struck me in such a way that just felt so natural and free.
Volver con la frente marchita, las nieves del tiempo platearon mi sien. Sentir que es un soplo la vida.
So I looked up another very American venue, Craigslist, and I looked up tango, and I found a piano player. And I got together with him. A couple of months later, we started performing different venues. And then a couple of months after that, my family from Honduras came, and they heard me singing. Then I realized months later, already having performed at a couple of venues, later I found out that my grandmother sang tangos every night to me when I was a baby.
I started dancing tango about 5 or 6 years ago, sometime in fall or summer of 2008. I was in Buenos Aires, and I went to the Confiteria Ideal, which is a famous tango spot in Buenos Aires. It surprises you, I think, because the tango we know is the tango from the movies and the TV shows, and it's very kind of florid and overdone. But if you go into a milonga, at least a traditional one in Buenos Aires, it's extremely intricate, extremely subtle, affecting, and very different from the kind of over-dramatized tango you expect. I was a theater major as an undergraduate. I did have stage movement training. That included some dance. And I was a dance critic, actually, for some years in Boulder, Colorado, in addition to having been a theater and a film critic. And I actually think my college years and also my years as a dance critic planted the seed for why this particular night in Buenos Aires grabbed me and caused me, once I got back to New York, to get into tango, although there were still some chance events that happened which solidified it.
Mi abuelo es italiano, mi apellido es Caparelli. Mi madre viene de descendencia francesa, Solorno, pero bueno, mis padres ya ambos dos nacieron en Argentina.
Sí, yo tengo generación Alzamora, es el apellido paterno, de España, por supuesto. Mi abuelo paterno sí era español, pero venido de muy joven a Buenos Aires, Argentina. Y de la parte de mi madre son italianos, pero mis abuelos ya nacidos en Argentina. Hace casi 9 años que bailamos juntos, sí, prácticamente 9 años, tanto en salón como en escenario. Y yo tengo alrededor de 16 años bailando.
Yo hace 18 años que bailo.
18.
Mi nombre es Walter, soy portero de la milonga de acá de Historia Tango Club, ya casi un año. Estoy en esto del tango desde que empezó Historia Tango Club. Y el tango uno lo va llevando, entré por curiosidad y de a poco te va atrapando el tango, te va como envolviendo y vas conociendo gente, vas haciendo amistades, la gente que rodea el tango es bárbara, tanto en esta milonga como en otras diferentes milongas que veo que vienen dueños de otras milongas a esta de Astoria. Que vivo acá en Nueva York hace 15 años y tango hace un año y medio que estoy bailando. Por eso digo poco tiempo, muy poco tiempo, pero en Argentina no bailaba tango. Sí escuchaba un poco la otra música nuestra, que es el folclore, también me gusta mucho, pero el tango no había escuchado, bailar menos. Me empezó a atrapar acá, por curiosidad, por mujeres también. Es increíble la diferencia de que, no sé, me imagino que con otras danzas, de ver la mujer sola que viene con sus zapatitos y se sienta en una mesa, se pone sus zapatitos y está esperando que la saquen e inviten a bailar únicamente.
¿Quién quiso castigarte al fin? Si hay llanto que pueden perseguir así, si estas notas que nacieron por tu amor al final son un silicio que abre heridas de una historia, son suplicios, son memoria.
So tango to me has been a very unifying force because not only have I reconnected with people from my own country, which is Honduras, but I've also connected with people from a variety of countries, Europeans, South Americans, North Americans that have a very strong passion for the music. And I think that's the beauty of it, and that's one of the reasons why I greatly enjoy not only singing the tangos, but also telling people that I am an American-born, with Honduran descent tango singer, because I feel like a lot of things about our cultures, sometimes we hold on to them so strongly in order to preserve its genuineness or its originality. But, you know, evolution happens, and the way immigration works is just like that. The Italians went to Argentina, and after that, the Argentinians went to other countries like Honduras and spread tango all over Latin America. And that's where my grandmother heard it and sang it to me.
En la noche tranquila y oscura, hasta el aire parece decir: no te olvides que siempre fui tuya y sigo esperando que vuelvas a mí. En esta noche vuelvo a ser aquel muchacho soñador que supo amarte y con su verso te brindo su pena. Hay una voz que me dice al oído, yo sé que has venido por ella, que amable y que triste es a la vez la soledad del arrabal, con sus casitas y los árboles que pintan sombra, sentir que todo la nombra, que ganas enormes me da de llorar.
Estaba prohibida las fiestas sociales de noche y entonces el tango prácticamente era una cosa hasta clandestina, se podría decir. Estaba hasta mal visto, ¿no? Entonces casi que desapareció, pero bueno, obviamente en los suburbios siempre se mantuvo un poquito, pero la gente, las parejas que de jóvenes bailaron y por formaron sus familias, paulatinamente dejaron de bailar, más en esa época.
La generación de nuestros padres, un poco por diferentes motivos, como que no bailaban tanto el tango, se dejó cuando vino el rock and roll, se dejó de bailar tango. Nuestros abuelos, la generación de nuestros abuelos bailaban casi todos.
And then when I was a dance critic in Boulder, one of the shows that came through town was what we know now was the show that revitalized tango as a dance worldwide, and that was Tango Argentina. And I think you just have to, I do think you have to give a certain amount of respect to its Argentineness. Somehow. I do know some people are very defensive about the fact they dance tango and someone says, well, maybe, you know, have you ever been to Argentina? Or maybe they even teach it and they've never been to Argentina. That's sort of, and they can get quite defensive about it, I've noticed.
We just did a theater show called Voces de Tango, and we did it at a theater called La Tea in the Lower East Side. And one of the observations that a friend of mine made was that there wasn't one Argentinian in the bunch. You know, it was me as a Honduran, a friend of mine, a Cuban singer, Lourdes Simon, a Mexican singer, Giselle Sanat, the piano player and director and conceiver of the entire show, Pablo Zinger from Uruguay. So it really was a representation of many different countries and many different tango perspectives. And yes, there were some people that were like, oh, well, it should have been a little more genuine. But I feel like the genuineness of tango doesn't come from where the person singing it or performing it, dancing it, comes from. It comes from whether you connect with the sound, whether you connect with the lyric. That's where, to me, genuineness comes from. Not in your technique, not in where you come from or the fact that your grandmother's, you know, dance tango. And that's great. And there's value to that, definitely. But to me, in order for something to survive, it has to adapt. And I don't feel like we are changing tango. We're not. We are giving a living homage to tango, a living homage to the people that came before us, to Carlos Gardel, Homero Manzi, Astor Piazzolla.
Floreciéndome las rosas por volver. Esta ciudad no sé si existe, si es así, o algún poeta lo ha inventado para ti. viendo el sacrificio hasta el final.
I was asked to sing Balada para un Loco, which is a very famous tango song because it changed the way tango was presented. It was more of an art show. It was like reciting a poem, applying a musical level to this poem, singing it, living it, you know? And they asked me to sing this song several times, and several times I said no. Because during performances in the past, there is a difference in the phonetics of my Spanish coming from Central America and the Spanish that's in Uruguay. You know, they have the je, the h. You know, they have these sounds that I don't use on a regular basis. And yes, people have come to me and said, well, that's not the way you pronounce. That's not the right way of pronouncing it. And, you know, as always, I've been very honest with them. And I've always said I've never presented myself as an Argentinian tango singer. I am a singer that loves to sing tango, you know. And originally, yes, I felt a little, I wouldn't say offended, I just felt dismayed and a little disillusioned that people would allow these differences to maybe cloud their judgment, you know, or maybe not see it for what it was, which is just a person that is feeling this music, is really feeling the music, and that's the end all be all of it.
El sentimiento en flor, la mano fraternal y el rostro del amor en cada umbral. Ya sé que no es casual haber nacido aquí y ser un poco así, triste y sentimental. Ya sé que no es casual que un fuelle por los dos nos canta el funeral para decir adiós, decirte adiós a vos, ya ves.
And for me, Spanish-speaking cultures and art forms in general fill some sort of a blank space in my cultural background. There's a whole history of English-speaking travelers, writers, and artists who are drawn to the Mediterranean or to South America, Africa, because there's something those cultures have that the Northern European culture lacks, and I'm sure the reverse is true too. So tango in some ways is my way of plunging into a culture that is Mediterranean, that is south of the border, that has a sensibility different than my own, and doing it in a very active way, and somehow I'm dancing a memory of another culture that isn't my own. Although tango, and of course Buenos Aires is famous, and Argentinos are famous for considering themselves the most European of the South Americans. So perhaps it makes sense that I am stepping into that fusion, and it's the one that's easy for me to step into.
And I'm very proud of the fact that I'm not Argentinian and that this music is so strong and it's so passionate that it doesn't matter that I'm not Argentinian, because they ask me, where did you get this tango feeling? You know, people, they know that tango is very entrenched, you know, it's like in your innards, you know, once you feel it and you hear it and it touches you in that way, you're hooked, you know, you can't just walk away from it. And they ask me, where did you get this from? And I think we all have that as immigrants, you know, we all have those ties to our past. I mean, I lived in Honduras when I was a teenager, I went to school there, friends, my family, and I was the first person born here, actually, from my family. So my ties to Honduras are very strong. But I feel like tango in and of itself is very nostalgic, and it talks a lot about lost love, but not only lost love, lost streets, lost places, lost, you know, memories that you have from where you came from. Or maybe things that you wish you knew about where you came from and you don't anymore, or you don't have access to them anymore.
Personas de distintas nacionalidades, de todas partes del mundo toman el tango como propio, un tango como propio, como que les gusta tomarlo cada uno. Y ahí se nota cómo el tango por distintas nacionalidades lo toman propio cada uno y tratan de inculcar la personalidad. Uno baila con la personalidad de cada uno. Y se nota cuando caminás. El tango es caminar, y como caminás en la vida podés caminar en el tango.
Adivino el parpadeo de las luces que a lo lejos van marcando mi retorno. Son las mismas que alumbraron con sus pálidos reflejos hondas horas de dolor. Y aunque no quise el regreso, siempre se vuelve al primer amor. La vieja calle donde el eco dijo: tuya es su vida, tuyo es su querer, bajo el burlón mirar de las estrellas que con indiferencia hoy me ven volver, con la frente marchita, las nieves del tiempo platearon mi piel, sentir que es un soplo la vida, que 20 años no es nada, que febril la mirada, errarte en las sombras te busca y te nombra.